John Bonham was the 1977 tour's most valuable player, consistently carrying the band on his shoulders, hands, and feet, a drummer second to none, and quite possibly the defining rock and roll force of the 1970s. But there was one show on that tour that remains an infamous and curious chapter in Zeppelin's 1977 lore. This is the story of their return to the San Diego Sports Arena, an evening where Page, Plant, and Jones were on their A-game, but Bonham faced an uphill battle throughout. The reasons may be many, but this episode explores the context, sights, and sounds that make this performance a fascinating snapshot, just days before the triumph in Los Angeles, where Bonham would musically redeem himself with a masterful comeback at the Forum. So this video serves as a valuable prequel to my 3-part series. Welcome to Nobody's Fault But Bonzo, the untold story of Bonham's off night at San Diego 1977. It's Tuesday, June 14th, 1977. Led Zeppelin played the last of 6 nights at Madison Square Garden. It was a mighty celebration at one of their favorite American venues, following the nasty thunder scare at Tampa on the 3rd. A great what-if question to this day. You can watch my retrospective here on the channel. June was the most musically ambitious and consistent month of the tour. Where April was shaky and May was better, June remains a knockout throughout. Now, one of the available bootlegs from their last night at the Garden remains incomplete, with the last song being a 3-minute excerpt of John Bonham's drum solo. No signs of diminishing returns, just a conviction to unleash the full power of his stainless steel kit. They couldn't rest for long though, as they were scheduled to deliver yet another 6-night run, this time at the Forum. But in between those mammoth events, New York and LA, there was one stop, the San Diego Sports Arena on the 19th. At first glance, this show looked promising. They would have 4 days off to recharge, but then you think what a dangerous thing it was for wealthy rock stars who couldn't tell the difference between Wednesday and Friday. They most likely stayed in New York City for a couple of days before heading for Los Angeles, more specifically the Beverly Hilton Hotel on Wilshire Boulevard. Long gone were the days of the Continental Hyatt. This was a fancier and higher status place. It allowed them to party and meet socialites in LA while staying in close proximity to their upcoming Forum 6-show series, and San Diego of course. One can only wonder what personal lifestyle choices and parties took place. Touring is hard. There's a physical and mental price to pay. Playing several dates at the same location was better for them, as opposed to traveling for a one-off performance. Over in San Diego, there was much anticipation. Thousands of fans lined up for tickets on January 31st for Led Zeppelin's upcoming show on March 8th, according to Swan Song's original press release. A February 1st article described a San Diego Sports Arena record. The concert had sold out in a single day, just like the rest of the Southwest states, Fort Worth, Tempe, Arizona, and Los Angeles. All 14,000 San Diego seats were gone, and rumors spread about a possible second show. Fans were lucky to grab those tickets. The newspaper, of course, ran a photo from the band's last visit back in 1975. But Robert Plant's tonsillitis infection changed the course of the ship, with an infamous March 4th article announcing the San Diego date had been rescheduled to June 19th. That was 3 long months down the road. All 14,000 ticket holders were put to the test. Just like in Dallas, nobody wanted a refund. They wanted Led Zeppelin on stage. The journalist referenced Robert Plant's 1975 accident as some sort of bad luck hovering over the band. California was eager to see their heroes again, as 1975 saw the band play a strange schedule. San Diego, Long Beach, 2 nightmare roadie trips up to Seattle and Vancouver, followed by 3 nights at the Forum.
When I was a kid, closest you could get me to a fish. It's a fillet of fish.
Rich flavor. A cake this moist. Beautiful.
The best. I'm the expert sandwich in America.
Quality you can taste.
Now, there had been crazy concert activity at the San Diego Sports Arena since Led Zeppelin's last visit in March 1975. There was a brief sporting space for the NCAA Championship semifinals and final game where UCLA crowned themselves winners. Rock and roll was back with Pink Floyd on April 21st, followed by Lynyrd Skynyrd on April 24th, the Doobie Brothers on May 3rd, Bachman Turner Overdrive on June 14th, a Swan Song special Bad Company and Maggie Bell on June 22nd, progressive rock giants Yes plus opening band Ace on June 24th, a double guitar attack Eric Clapton and Santana on August 16th, plus 2 September shows The Winter Attack and Elton John on the 29th. 1976 had 60 shows including David Bowie, ELO, and Kiss, all 3 shows in February. Queen arrived on March 12th, while Lynyrd Skynyrd was back on the 14th. April had Chicago, guitar legend Robin Trower, and the King himself, Elvis Presley, on the 24th. Genesis took May by storm, followed by the Doobie Brothers. Wings' World Tour rocked San Diego on June 16th. August had Stephen Stills and Fleetwood Mac bring their electric storytelling. The Who brought Power Chord Mayhem on October 7th, followed by Eric Clapton's return on November 20th. 1977 had 17 shows before Led Zeppelin's arrival in the ways of the Steve Miller Band, Foghat and Ambrosia in February, followed by March Madness Super Shows, Genesis on the 27th, Fleetwood Mac on the 28th, and Queen the next day, plus opening act Thin Lizzy. America was next on the 30th. More shows happened, like Bob Seger on April 29th, with opening act Sammy Hagar. May 11th had another Swan Song double feature, Bad Company and Rockpile. June had Rufus, Chaka Khan, Brothers Johnson, Bay City Rollers, and ZZ Top on the 15th, right before the Mighty Zeppelin comeback on the 19th. San Diego Sports Arena didn't have the best sound design. Like the Pontiac Silverdome, it was a bouncy venue where loud music was a bit of a nightmare to properly EQ, but audiences didn't care. It was a famous tour stop for every band in the business. Led Zeppelin was back on their 7th visit since 1969. The band reprised almost the same outfits as their last Madison Square Garden show on the 14th, with Bonzo wearing his white tank top. The same can be seen at opening night, June 7th, but this time with a red scarf. San Diego had him wear a black scarf that seems like a cut-out version of his 1973 and 1975 style shirts. A strange continuity, but certainly entertaining for us dedicated Zeppelin fans. As opposed to his usual blue jean selection, Robert wore silver pants like he did on June 13th at the Garden. San Diego's setlist included one of the final live performances of In My Time of Dying. It was played just twice more in Los Angeles, and then disappeared from the repertoire for good, until the 2007 reunion, of course. Black Country Woman featured a rare snippet of Mystery Train, performed for the first time since 1972. The song was popularized by Elvis Presley, which is why this show is sometimes nicknamed after it, judging by many bootleg recordings out there. According to audience accounts, John Bonham was allegedly dizzy and not in peak condition when the band took the stage, which may explain why his famous over-the-top drum solo, usually performed after Kashmir, was cut from the set. It was the first time on the tour that this happened, likely out of necessity, and it highlights the concerning state Bonzo was in that night, fueling endless speculation among fans. The San Diego incident served as a vital reminder to the Zeppelin camp of just how important Bonzo was. Not that they didn't already know, but sometimes consistent greatness can be taken for granted. While some of Jimmy Page's 1977 performances have sparked debate for their alleged occasional sloppiness, they were often elevated by the heavy-handed control of Bonzo's drumming, who also gave John Paul Jones a monster groove to work his harmony wisdom out. The same can be said for Plant's occasional voice cracks, often overlooked thanks to his drummer friend locking in with Jones to form the finest rhythm section in the business. There was a musical dependence on John Bonham, who battled road fever far from home and carried the toughest job of all: continuous drum highlights and long, demanding pieces like Kashmir, requiring intense focus and stamina. To an extent, San Diego 1977 proves just how much the entourage needed to take care of their high-performance musical athlete. John Bonham was the heart of the band, and this definitely was a wake-up call to whatever was going on backstage, to know they were human after all. We know Jimmy Page had food poisoning back in Chicago in April, and it now seemed to be Bonham's turn. Yet it's remarkable that despite everything, they still delivered what was essentially a complete show. I don't intend to take shots at him, quite the opposite. I want to show you the moral side of Bonzo, the human side, a tour MVP who simply had an off night. Concert reviews were positive, with no real mention of the drumming issues. This may be explained by the venue's reverb nature, making it difficult for some to actually hear any mistakes or missteps. Critics were kind to Plant's rejuvenated voice, praised the band's spectacle, filled with many thrills. Yes, they lamented nothing from their first album was performed, but they were entertained to say the least. This was a major San Diego comeback. So sit back as we dive into the music analysis. I'll walk you through the key sections and sonic snapshots that made this concert such an anomaly. Dangerous trails, stuntman drumming, and the sheer teamwork it took to hold it all together while the police arrested 57 fans outside of the arena. You know, the usual thing for rock and roll in the late 70s. So let's go to June 19th, 1977, the day Pink Floyd played Chicago's Soldier Field, a triple bill Blue Oyster Cult, Leonard Skinner and Ted Nugent rock Orchard Park, New York. Elvis Presley conquered Omaha's Civic Auditorium, while Alice Cooper, Kings and the Tubes shook Anaheim Stadium. Enjoy.
First of all, I guess we should try and apologise for not being here for the last couple of years. But you know how it went. Secondly, it's very nice to see they finally found your seats here. Is it amazing when they can't afford a few seats for people? Anyway, this is the earliest we've ever got to a concert, so that means we'll get to bed early tonight. I'm not going to do too much feeling because I heard the live album, so we'll just play a lot of music instead. We've reached a very awkward situation physically, yet again, and that is that John Jones has... I don't know whether ever you men in the audience have ever had any trouble with your backs. Remember Saturday night when you just got paid full amount of money I'm trying to save, and you get trouble with your back? You understand? You know what I mean? It's about time he had some sordid press, because he's got a very bad back. And he's only by the luck and the grace of God is he sitting at the keyboards tonight. So he's been lying in bed all day with a hot water bottle under his back. And it's about time that somebody noted it down in the press that John Paul Jones doesn't just play backgammon. rehearsing last November, and we said, right, we thought about all the things that we wanted to do before, musically. Utilises John Paul Jones's three-necked instrument. This is possibly why he still has a bad back. John Paul Jones's three-necked instrument, Geriatric Jones. My foot in a soccer match yesterday. Jonesy hurt his back playing backgammon. Jimmy hurt his hand when a firecracker hit it in New York. And you know what? We're still here. As you can tell, it's our version of a sort of a Californian Crosby, Stills, Nash and Bonham.
What is wrong with you? Jake?
Diego. It really is good to be back. Good night.